Greetings. We will be working on slope triangle today. So what I want you to do is make sure as you're looking at each of these that there's one thing that you recognize. When the line goes up to the right, that means we have a positive slope. So I can tell by looking here, we have a positive slope. Whereas this one is going down to the right. So this would be a negative slope. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take your knowledge up from, you might have heard it as constant rate of change, or you just may know it as slope. And we are going to be creating slope triangles to find the slope. Okay? So first again, I know my slope is going to be positive. You don't have to put a positive, but I guarantee if it was a negative, I would go on and put that so I don't mess that up. Okay, now we do not have numbers on these, so as far as I know, we are counting by 1. So when we do slope, we do delta y over delta x. That's just a fancy way of saying change in y over change in x. Okay, or rise over run. Okay, they basically will give us the same answer. Usually on a graph, we go with rise over run, and when we are doing points, we do delta y over delta x. Okay, so when we do rise over run, what we're going to do is we're going to create a right triangle. So we're going to go point to point, up and over. It doesn't matter which way you draw it, as long as it's a right triangle, you should get the right answer. Okay, so there's my right triangle. And I'm going to rise. I'm going to count how much I'm rising. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm rising 6. Make sure you have created this on your graph. Okay. Now run. Obviously we want run side to side. 1, 2. And we know 6 divided by 2 is 3. And remember, on a slope, you can always write it as an improper fraction. You can say 6 over 2 is 3, but you're welcome to say the slope is 3 over 1. Okay? And here's how we can just double check it. It's 3 over 1. 3 over 1. Rise 3, run 1. Rise 3, run 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. So I can kind of check that to make sure I got the right answer. Okay. Over here, I'm going to go on and put, I know my slope is negative and I may make a mistake. So I'm going to go on and put that first. I can tell because it's going down. If this was multiple choice, I would make sure I get rid of anything that is a positive slope. Okay. So we're going to make our slope triangle. It has to be a right triangle. I can go this way and this way. I can go this way and this way. It literally doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it this way. And again, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now in this time, my rise is actually a fall because I'm having to go from point to point. I'm going down. 1, 2. So I went down 2. Okay, so that's -2. But I'm going forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's a positive. Okay, so this is my slope that I'm counting from a slope triangle. -2 over 5. That will not simplify because 2 and 5 are both prime numbers. I could do it, like I said, the other way. Make a different right triangle. But if I do it this way, I'm counting down over here. So I would say my rise would be 1, 2. My run, I'm going backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since I'm going backwards, that would be a negative. Okay? So let's go on and put a box around this so we can see our answers. Okay? Now, when we do slope through points, okay, we're just kind of getting started on this. So this would be delta y over delta x. or change in y over change in x. Okay, so we kind of almost need more room, but we can put our final answer down here. We'll just put a box, and that will go with this one. Okay, what I would do is I would label your points. I would say x1, y1, x2, y2, and you can use the calculators on this. So when I'm looking here, I want y2 first. y2 is 4. I put a minus. y1 is a negative 2. So make sure when you're entering this into the calculator that this is a minus and this is a negative. Those are different, okay? And then over here, x2, I see a 0, minus, and then I do x1. x1 is negative 2. And by the way, it doesn't matter which one you label as long as we have the same one. If this could be x2 and y2. This could be x1 and y1. It's just however we label it. So what I want you to do is take a second and pause the video, and I want you to put this into your calculator. Do that right now. Pause this video and put that into your calculator. So what I know is 4 minus negative 2, that's going to be a 6. 0 minus negative 2, that's going to be a 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, or it could be 3 over 1. That would be my slope. Okay? We're going to do the same thing over here. Delta y over delta x. Remember, change in y over change in x. And I'm just going to show you real quick. Let's do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Okay? I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter. I'm going to call this one x2 and y2. It doesn't matter. I'm going to call this one x1 and y1. It doesn't matter. You should get the same answer either way. And again, we'll put our final solution right here. Okay, when I'm looking at this, the way I've labeled it, y2 is negative 1. Go on and put the minus. y1 is negative 3. Okay. x2 is negative 2 minus x1 is 3. Okay, I want you to try to get this into your calculator. If you are struggling, just do it in parts. You can figure out the top, figure out the bottom, and then divide. It's perfectly fine. But if you can't get it correctly on the calculator, I would do it in parts. So I know, hopefully you've paused and you've solved. If not, do that. I know this one is going to end up being a 2 over negative 2 minus 3. I know that is negative 5. So my slope should be, and it doesn't matter where the negative is, as long as there's only one negative. It can be a negative on top, a negative on bottom. It can be a negative in front. So make sure you have these notes. This is how you're going to complete this paper. I'm going to do one more slope triangle with you. And then you'll go from there. And if you need a separate sheet of paper, that's fine, but you do need to staple it to this. Okay? So for number 5, we want our slope triangle, and I have 2 close points here. So again, I'm going to draw the slope triangle, rise over run. Okay, I'm counting point to point. What I can tell is that slope, the triangle is going down. So that means my slope will be a negative. I'm just putting that so I don't mess it up, and I'm going to draw. Remember, it doesn't matter which way we draw it. I'm going to go here, here. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. So in this case, again, from here to here, I'm counting here, it's falling. It's not rising, it's falling 1. And I'm going to count 1, 2. And when I did the fall, I should have put a negative there. I think I was already thinking that I had the negative here. So this should be negative 1 over 2. I fall 1, that's a negative. I'm counting over 2, that's a positive. Okay, so I have negative 1 over 2 as my slope. Okay, so your job is to complete this paper using these notes.